Final Fantasy VII is a role-playing game developed and published by Square, now known as Square Enix, for the PlayStation platform. Released in 1997, it's the 7th installment in the Final Fantasy series, and the first in the series to use 3D computer graphics, featuring fully rendered characters on pre-rendered backgrounds. It was also the first game in the main series to be released in Europe. The story follows Cloud Strife, a mercenary who joins an eco-terrorist rebel organization known as Avalanche to stop the world-controlling megacorporation Shinra from draining life from the planet. Cloud and his allies become involved in a larger world-threatening conflict and face off against Sephiroth, which is the main antagonist. Development of Final Fantasy VII began in 1994. It was originally developed for the Super Nintendo, but moved to the Nintendo 64, but since the Nintendo 64 cartridges lacked the required storage capacity for substantial pre-rendered movie footage, Square then moved the game to CD-ROM, which would turn out to be the PlayStation. It was directed by Yoshinori Kitase and produced by Hironobu Sakaguchi. The music was composed by Final Fantasy veteran Nobuo Uematsu, while the series' longtime character designer Yoshitaka Amano was replaced by Tetsuya Nomura.
Beyond the edge of reality lies a story of ultimate conquest, a story of war and friendship, a story of a love that can never be, and a hatred that always was. And now, the most anticipated epic adventure of the year will never come to a theater near you. Final Fantasy VII. PlayStation.
Helped by a large pre-release promotional campaign, Final Fantasy VII was a critical and commercial success. It was released in 1997 for the PlayStation, in 1998 for Windows, in 2009 for the PlayStation Network, in 2012 for the PC download, and 2013 in Steam. And you can also pick this game up on Android as of 2014 and even the PlayStation 4, which has upscaled graphics and things that can speed up the gameplay and even a God mode if you're just looking for the story. It has continued to sell with more than 11 million copies sold as of 2015, making it the best-selling title in the series. Final Fantasy VII has been praised for its graphics at the time, let's put it that way, gameplay, music, and story. Criticisms primarily pertain to its English localizations. The game is acknowledged for boosting the sales of the PlayStation console and popularizing Japanese role-playing games outside Japan. It's widely considered to be one of the greatest games of all times. Now, this is the game that introduced me to playing Final Fantasy games. I love the character designs in this game, and it brought me closer, but I think it's the music is what kept me. At the time, I've never experienced anything like that. The closest thing was Pokemon, but this was far more in-depth and addicting, and it had an actual story wrapped around everything that was going on. I like to go through this game at least once every couple years. For the first time since having worked on Final Fantasy on the Famicom, Sakaguchi made the gameplay systems a priority over the story, as the team's main concern during development of the game was how to implement the 3D to the transition of 2D graphics. Kitase has described the process of the making of the in-game environments as possible to be a daunting task. The series' longtime character designer Yoshitaka Amano was opening art workshops and exhibitions in France and New York, which limited his involvement in the game. As a result, Tetsuya Nomura was appointed as the project's character designer, while Amano aided in the design of the game's world map. Several of Nomura's designs changed during development from their initial conceptions, For example, Cloud's original design of slicked black hair with no spikes was intended to serve as a contrast to Sephiroth's long, flowing silver hair. Nomura feared, however, that such masculinity could prove unpopular with fans, and therefore he changed Cloud's design to feature a shock of spiky, bright, and blonde hair. Vincent changed from researcher to detective to chemist, and finally to the figure of a former Turk with a tragic past. Nomura has indicated that Sid Highwind's fighting style resembles that of a Dragoon Knight, because his last name is the same of the two previous Dragoon Knights featured in the Final Fantasy series, Ricard Highwind of Final Fantasy II and Kain Highwind of Final Fantasy IV. The gameplay uses the active time battle system, as like the recent Final Fantasy games. It allows you to mix and match different kinds of materia, being your magic, command, and summon abilities, to anyone in your party. This allows for a lot of customization, and people that you wouldn't think would normally use magic could use it. Each character has a specific skill they're better at, but the rest of them can use any kind of materia at any time. The gameplay as today, some might see it as repetitive and kinda old, but since the release of the Steam and PS4 version, it allows you to speed up the battles and everything around you. This is a plus for me, or any RPG game, especially if I'm grinding for levels. I think any RPG fan can agree with me here. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy, followed closely by 9 and 10, but it was my first among many others. It will always hold a special place in my heart for being my first story-driven RPG. And if you haven't gave it a shot, I would say at least try it. The graphics are a little dated nowadays, but if you're playing on PC, there are tons of mods out there to make your characters look chibi and less blocky, and gives it the more in-battle look. This game can vary between $30 to $100 if you're looking for a new copy, that is. But if you're not looking for a physical edition, you can play this on Steam. Hell, you can even download it on the PSN store. For this review, I used mostly the PS4 version. So if you're an RPG fan and you haven't at least tried to play this game, well, what are you doing? It's at least worth the download price, so I'm going to put this on my scale as buy it. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and leaving a thumbs up. Been a little under the weather, so I've been trying to get back on it. But let me know what your favorite RPG is, and what was your first RPG. Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and stay tuned next week while I'll be reviewing Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire.